Thank you very much. So, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm going to be very brief in my introduction because I'm certainly not the person that you've come here to listen to today. We've got a number of people joining us who I think are new to our event. So I just wanted to very briefly talk about who we are as the Alliance for Youth Justice, and we're then going to pass over to Rose to do the same for Leaders Unlocked. We're working together on this project, and then I'm going to pass over to Amania and to the Young Advocates to talk about what it is that you're here to find out about, which is their findings and recommendations. So the Alliance for Youth Justice is an alliance of 75 different organisations in the voluntary sector who all work in different ways with children and young people and have got an interest in improving the experiences and the outcomes for children and young people who come into contact with the criminal justice system. And it's been a long-standing ambition of the AYJ to work alongside children and young people and to benefit from their expertise to feed into our own work to try and influence policy and also to support them, to give them a platform to advocate on the issues that they care about. So many thanks to the generous funding of Children in Need. We've been funded to do this project alongside our partners Leaders Unlocked, who've got lots of experience in this area. And we're really looking forward to giving this platform to the Young Advocates today to talk to you about the work that they've been doing. And we really appreciate the fact that many of you on the call are actually those that can really do something about the recommendations and the findings. So it's great that you've joined us today to hear about that, and we're interested in your reflections in terms of what you might take away upon hearing what the Young Advocates have to say. So I'm going to do some thanks towards the end of the meeting, but for now I'm just going to pass over to Rose Dowling, who's the director of Leaders Unlocked, to tell you a bit about them and what they do.
Hi guys, I'm Rose Dowling. I'm the CEO of Leaders Unlocked. We are proud partners in the Young Advocates project. It's been an incredible journey over the last year and a privilege to facilitate this process in collaboration with AYJ. At Leaders Unlocked, we're a social enterprise. We work across the UK, supporting young adults to take a leading role in addressing the issues they care about and the issues that affect them most in society. We do this across a range of sectors, including policing, health and wellbeing, education and criminal justice. Our work in criminal justice dates back to around 2016, where we developed the Young Justice Advisors Initiative. And off the back of that, really, we were very passionate about extending this into the youth justice sector and doing so working closely with AYJ to cut the mould for a new project, the Young Advocates, which would allow young people with experience of the youth justice system to have a meaningful and influential voice at the national level. And to be fair, this project has exceeded our expectations quite significantly in terms of the individuals that we met along the way, their commitment, their personal growth and achievements, doing this all throughout a pandemic, which has been an incredible challenge because for the first 12 months of the project, we didn't meet in person. So they did it all virtually, which for young people of that age and of that background is particularly challenging, but they rose to the challenge really, really well. Also, we're really proud of the extent of the peer research that they've undertaken going into environments which have sometimes been challenging. We've actually managed to work with young people in a range of secure settings. One of the benefits of the pandemic has been that we've been able to have Zoom meetings involving young people in the community and young people in secure settings at the same time. And also they've overcome significant personal challenges over this time. And I think many of them have wrestled with personal adversity at the same time as continuing a commitment to this project. So for all that, we're really, really proud and excited for what you're going to hear today. I want to give a big thank you to all of the Young Advocates for all of their commitment and motivation and extraordinary energy and insight. And I want to say a special thank you to my colleague Amania Scott-Samuels, who's led the project and done so with real kind of energy and real sophistication, as well as the support of my other colleague, Nadine Smith, who leads our Young Justice Advisors Initiative and has been a key part of supporting and mentoring the young advocates through the process. So I think that's all I want to say. If you want to hear more about Leaders Unlocked, please feel free to make contact, and I can't wait for what's to come next. So back over to Pippa.
Thanks very much, Rose. I think it's time to pass over to Amania, who I think has got some slides to share with you, and she's going to give some introduction to the project and then work with the young advocates to share with you what they found out and what they think.
Thank you so much, Pippa. Can you see this?
Yes.
Amazing. So yes, hi everyone. I'm Amania Scott-Samuels. As Rose mentioned, I'm a criminal justice project coordinator at Leaders Unlocked, and I've had the immense joy of leading on the Young Advocates project and working with them between September and September. So a little bit about who they are. They are between 14 and 20. They've all been affected by the youth justice system in some way, shape or form. They are all passionate about making change. As you can see, some of their motivations here include upskilling themselves, using their lived experience to make positive change in society and for their peers, and also just being able to bring about change in certain systems too. So as Rose mentioned, we've had a very tumultuous time in terms of COVID, but we've had a lot of very committed young people. So we have a core group of around 10 now, and they are 70% male, 30% female from a range of areas, including Nottingham, Suffolk, Southampton, Mansfield, Bristol and London. So yeah, they're really fantastic. And I can just say from the outset that, spoiler alert, all of the motivations you see on the side, they have been achieved and very well, I'll add too. So in terms of what the Young Advocates did, this is a kind of general process that we follow at Leaders Unlocked. But at the very beginning in September, we worked together with the Young Advocates to kind of brainstorm, reflect on the youth justice system. What do we mean by that? What parts are working, what parts are not working so much? And the Young Advocates decided on 3 main priorities. They were education and warning signs, stereotyping, and jails. So then we worked with them to develop social research skills between September and kind of February-ish. They kind of assessed the usefulness of different research methods before carrying that research out between March and July. So it was amazing to see their ability to engage people online, in person, strangers, people older than them, people younger than them. But I feel like the real achievement was the 31st of July. We were on Zoom and we had a 2-hour data analysis session. And I know that some of you have had to write big reports, and you know that data analysis is a tough one, but they did really, really amazing. And now you are here and we are here to share their findings and solutions with you. So before we do that, just going to hand over to Adam. He's going to share a little bit about our key achievements on the project. Go ahead, Adam.
Hello everybody, my name's Adam. I'll be telling you a little bit more about myself later on in today's meeting. I just wanted to tell you a bit about our key achievements in the last year. I mean, these are only just some of them. I think we've all accomplished many great things throughout this amazing experience. So at the start of the project, we done a Carol Black drug review at Round Table event. What we all thoroughly enjoyed, really got everyone talking and debating, and it was a great experience. We've been recruiting people throughout the whole experience, which means that I myself have been able to meet and gain new friends throughout the whole experience. We've had an influence on reporting rules for press regulations, reviewed and assessed HMI probation, reviewed areas and received responses. And then these are some of my more personal best achievements. Welcome numerous guests speaking in leaders, law and criminology. And then this one, I actually went down to London and attended the Real Talk One Mic podcast event. It was a great experience. There was a group of us, people that I didn't even know, and we done a podcast, and we all vibed off each other, got some really, really useful information. We all managed to learn lots of new things off each other, and I myself managed to meet my mentor, Jake. He's the one in the photo, that's both of us standing there. He's been a great asset to me. So that's just some of our achievements. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Adam. And yeah, that podcast was amazing. Again, just kind of kicking boundaries in terms of collecting primary qualitative data in that way. And all of the podcast attendees said it was their favorite so far. And we've had a couple that are super interested in joining the project. So that's all thanks to you, Adam. So now we're going to move on to a couple of personal reflections. I'm going to start off with Leon. So Leon, would you like to tell us a little bit about your motivations for joining, your experiences, any highlights?
Hi everyone. So my personal reason to get onto the project was my yacht worker at the time told me about it. I saw it as a tick box mainly, just as for the point of time that I was in that life. It took me a little while to get into the project, but then after about 2 to 3 months, I'd say, I properly started to engage in the project. It then built my confidence. We started to talk to around 20 people. We then got speaking to, I think the highest one we had was about 150 people in the room, which for myself at that time, it was something out of the ordinary. I wouldn't be talking to professionals on that level. So my main highlights of the whole project really was, first of all, when we actually got to meet each other, bearing in mind there's COVID and we was all doing it virtually. And then going to different parts of London to do events in Bruges and a youth club, I think it was. The biggest changes was I now have a job. My behaviour has changed in a lot of ways, and not really letting things get to me as much. And that was a lot of help through the project and just building my self-confidence really. And it was and for the project, it's a very big stepping stone to getting somewhere.
Thank you so much, Leon, and you've been so amazing. It's been amazing to watch you go on your journey and I think you did amazing. I was freaking out doing our first in-person engagement and you just smashed it. So it's been such a pleasure and you've done really, really great. I'm going to hand back over to Adam now to tell you a little bit more about his journey.
You're on mute.
Oh God, I do this every time. I'm so sorry, everybody. Yeah, so it's me again. So I'm gonna be doing my self-reflection. So I was first introduced to the idea of doing this again by my youth worker at the time. It was at the time I kind of wanted to have a bit more of an impact on society, get more involved in stuff. I just started a new apprenticeship, a health and social care apprenticeship. So my life had just started to change. An opportunity to meet like-minded people and to have discussions and to have that opportunity to have any sort of impact to make any young person's life just that little bit easier was a huge like a gain to me. Mentally at the time, I wasn't all there, but throughout this experience, it's really helped me gain skills on talking to wide varieties of people, engaging with different people, learning different things, and it made me start to look at my future a lot more bright. It's made me look forward to my future. It's made me think more about what my future holds. I've managed to finally go to London and meet everyone that's been in these meetings. It was an amazing experience. It's one thing when you're just seeing a couple of faces on a Zoom call, but when you're finally meeting them in person, and I feel like we've all made friends out of this, to be able to see those friends face to face, it was an amazing experience. I've also done, as I mentioned before, the roundtable events with people like Carol Black. And there's stuff that I'd only ever dreamed of. I never thought somebody like me would be able to get involved in something like this. I never thought that I'd be able to even be recognised, if that makes sense, to be able to even be able to speak to you guys today. It's a huge privilege to me, and just something that Leaders Unlocked has helped me along the way do. I've gone on to work with Comic Relief, all thanks to Leaders Unlocked. And if somebody said to me a couple of years ago, I'd be working with Comic Relief, I probably would have laughed at you. I mean, it's always been a dream of mine, but to actually go and do it, huge privilege. Something I'll never forget. This whole experience is something I'll never forget, to be honest with you. I've also managed to get a job with the Youth Endowment Fund through Leaders Unlocked, and that's only just began, but that's another amazing thing, all thanks to Leaders Unlocked, that have helped me engage in all of this sort of stuff. And it's been amazing experience, and I honestly can't thank these guys enough for getting me involved in this, giving me these opportunities. And I think it gives me, and hopefully you guys, a glimmer of hope for young people and young people's futures, because knowing that this sort of thing happens, and people like me, that I'm only 18 years old, that an 18-year-old can get involved in this sort of thing, I think it's mind-blowing. I think it's amazing. I think this is what communities are missing, and I think hopefully this is kind of the future for young people to have a place in society and to have a future. So yeah, thank you very much, Leaders Unlocked, for giving me such an amazing 12 months.
Thank you so much, Adam. I don't even know how to follow that, really. It's a tough one to follow, but it's been such a pleasure to have you on the project and to see similarly your journey as well, and see all of the amazing impact that you've had on the young people that you interact with. So I'm going to share my screen again so we can get on to what you came here for. So can you see this? Yeah, maybe?
Yeah.
No? Okay, cool. So yes, as we mentioned before, the Young Advocates used a range of methods, both in person and online, to facilitate workshops and research surrounding those three priority topics: education and women's science, jails, and stereotyping. So we used interviews, workshops, focus groups, and also questionnaires. And the age range was between 12 and 21. So now we're going to move on to the findings. We're going to start with stereotyping, and I'm going to hand over to my colleague Nadine to start us off on these.
Thank you so much. I'm still like really in awe of like Leon and Adam's journeys and like how amazing they've been, and like, yeah, getting to see them grow over the past 12 months has been incredible. So as Amania said, my name is Nadine. I'm also a criminal justice project coordinator at Leaders Unlocked. And yeah, I'm just going to run through a few of the findings from the stereotyping priority. So if I'm looking this way, it's just because it's on a bigger screen, because I'm technically blind. So like zooming in is just, it's not my forte. And I don't think you want to see my forehead either. So yeah, so with the stereotyping, there was a few kind of general experiences where people thought that, young people thought that stereotyping was connected mostly to police around race, but it's also across all systems, and about many different things. So background, privilege, those types of things, as well as race, even down to things like clothing that you're wearing and who you associate with. And because of that, many young people feel that they kind of have to change and adapt themselves to not be seen as a threat, or to not feel like any interaction they're going to be stereotyped. In policing, kind of, it's really seen as overwhelmingly racist, and that they are untrustworthy, they're inconsistent, and the job role, basically one of the requirements for the job roles is to stereotype young people. So regardless, again, of what level that's on, predominantly racist, but it's in their job role to be stereotyping young people. We've also got education on wider systems. So young people felt that professionals that they're in contact with don't understand the issues that they face, and they're often not from the area or the same communities. So that could be like a multitude of different reasons that there may be stereotyping. But in particular with education, it's kind of those drafting in the substitute teachers that don't really have an idea of what it's like where they're at, or bringing in teachers from other areas, and things like that. There's a couple of quotes on the side as well, which was saying somebody said that stereotyping has made them look at the way they carry themselves, and how they speak. Someone said that stereotyping made them stop trusting the police, because they can't even walk from their house to the park without being stopped. And then because of that, it's creating a breakdown in trust. So having no faith in the law or education system, and they're finding it predominantly racist. Next slide. And for, again, kind of this breakdown into another two areas, so looking at courts, young people sort of associate the courts with injustice. The experience of court is very different for victims versus perpetrators. So I have personal experience in that area. When you are a victim or you're a witness, you're kind of shown everything, told everything about who's sitting where, who's who of the court, when it's going to be your turn to say something. But if you're a young person, again, with my experience, if you're a young person who's just going to court and you're seen as a perpetrator, you just get left in the waiting room, maybe see you defend an officer, and then you're dealt with. So you kind of, it's really imbalanced in the treatment of young people, and staff in courts are not representative of the young people that they work with. So because, again, there's a quote saying that everyone does not get the same sentence, certain races get it worse because of your colour, and they say you're innocent until proven guilty, but they treat you like you're guilty from the start. So it's really that flip side of things, is proving yourself innocent rather than them finding you guilty. And then stereotyping in the media really adds to negative public opinion of young people, and the angel devil syndrome is often seen with the victim versus the perpetrator. And social media also has positive and negative effects, again following that the narrative of young people. You can log onto Instagram and see 1,000 videos of young people in a negative light, but you can't log onto Instagram and see 1,000 videos of young people doing positive things, which again really plays into that overall balance because everybody's on social media nowadays. Lastly, there's a quote saying the press are making an example of the people. They have a whole page to name and shame people, and it's a mission, and the public see it, and it really puts pressure on the judges at the same time coming back into the court's findings, because some things get so blown up on social media. The judges may often feel like they have a pressure to really make an example of a young person.
Thank you so much.
Back to you.
Cheers. So now I'm going to hand over to education and warning signs, and we're going to go to Adam for this because the topic he's very passionate about.
I'll make sure I unmute myself this time. So yeah, this is something I am very, very passionate about, and something that I have experienced a lot of negative things in education. So we spoke to lots of different people, and these are the main findings. So most young people report negative experiences of education, lack of support, the negative impact of PROs, what are pupil referral units for anybody that isn't aware. They're very negative places. A lot of people find it very hard to find their feet in PROs. Early labelling of those struggling academically. Young people saw teachers as having the most responsibility to pick up on the warning signs, but I personally agree with as well. Isolation and exclusions were noted as harmful and used too often, but a lot of people were saying that, and that was coming up quite a lot. I'm just going to read you a couple of quotes as well. If I didn't go to a PRO, I would put money on it. I would not be here in prison. I lost my old friends from mainstream and made new ones that were negative influences. If you show weakness at a pre, you get bullied. What I completely agree with, but that quote is from one of our young people that are in AYJ, was quite insightful, getting their information. I had a lot of support. I was very ignorant to and took it for granted. I had some supported teachers, but most of it came from home. So there are main findings of education and warning signs, what I think are quite impactful. And I think they make you really realise what education is like for a lot of young people in the UK at the moment, especially vulnerable people and people that are struggling with mainstream school and just don't know how to get the help, and sadly get kicked out of school or get excluded and end up in pros. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, super insightful and very, very interesting to see that people from essentially all walks of life had kind of similar negative experiences of education. So we're going to do the jail findings now. I'm just wondering, is Dejan here? If he is here, then just let me know. If not, then I'll happily walk you through. Okay, so I'm more than happy to walk you through the jail findings. So as has already been mentioned multiple times, we were very, very lucky to have a very unique opportunity to get insight from inside a number of secure establishments. And we have had a total of 3 young advocates that are also within secure facilities as well, which has been invaluable, of course. So what we found was that generally jail seems to impact young people in different ways. So there were some young people that were like, I've been there once, I'm never going again. There was other people that were kind of just got used to the kind of revolving door aspect of it. Similarly to in education, isolation was repeated as having very long-term negative effects and being used far too often. Something that was very interesting and quite difficult to hear at times was that racism and physical assaults by staff who are supposed to be looking after young people that are in custody is a big issue. So one quote that we heard here, this one prison officer, he literally took me downstairs and he said, "I don't like you, so we're going to do something about it. I swear to God, he punched me up. They should go to jail for that." And I was in the room when he said that, and I found that very chilling, but something that also was very interesting, of course, with research mixed methods. Obviously, we had much more higher reports of negative experiences of jail and specific staff incidents when we're doing interviews and workshops, and much less so in the questionnaires that we found received. So yeah, so also we found that many young people said that prison can be glamorized in various aspects of youth culture, whether that's on roads where it's like a badge of honor, or in music, or just within a social group that is already in prison. And a really interesting point was that lots of young people that had experienced custody said that there is limited coverage of what the real issues facing young people in custody are. So I know that all the young advocates were really, really blown away by the recent news of Rainsbrook. We spent a whole session looking at that and looking at the kind of protections that should be in place and the consequences that should come around for not failing to safeguard children that are in custody. So that really spoke to a lot of young people's experiences, that the kind of general image that we see of custody in the UK is never really like children focused issues. And then finally, we have some young people reported not wanting to leave. So that was for a number of reasons. Mainly, we kind of identified that it was that essentially they've been placed back into the same situation that they were in before they went into jail. So not much has changed, and that's why you just get a kind of revolving door that we are all familiar with. So to illustrate that point, this young man said, young people return to jail when they've been placed back in the same situation as last time. So yeah, thank you to all of our partners that enabled us to get such valuable insight from inside secure facilities as well. We're super grateful. So now we're going to move on to our recommendations. So these should correspond directly with the findings that you just heard. So I will start with these on stereotyping. So this kind of coincides with the idea that justice kind of actors are not very representative, and the Young Advocates are very passionate about diversifying the people that are in contact with young people, from magistrates to teachers and all those that are in close contact with young people, and offer more training, whether that is trauma-informed training, unconscious bias training, and also just greater knowledge of youth-specific systems, because that was another thing that young people reported, having poor advice, received some poor advice from some of their solicitors that weren't well-versed in youth-specific issues. Trinae, who is on the call, suggested a diverse experiences at work scheme. So I think don't use it, because I'm sure he's copyrighted it already. But I think that was a great idea, because it kind of acknowledges the Young Advocates' ideas that various types of lived experience should be represented across the justice system. And on courts, obviously there was a lot about young people not feeling heard in the courts, not understanding what's going on with the courts. So we really wanted to make it imperative that in every youth-related court case, that the young person has a chance to speak, is given an opportunity to speak in a way that suits them, however that might look. So now we're going to go to Leon. He's going to tell us what else we can do about some of the issues we found in stereotyping.
So we've done a few researches, and when I went with Amania to do the speeches, so tightening restrictions on media reporting, so stop misinforming with more reliable sources and evidence, so actually finding out what's gone on instead of some of the media that just gets posted for little evidence that they even know about. Also increasing age restrictions on anonymity. So in my case, I've known people where they're quite young and their addresses and names have been put on the media and things like that. Establish consequences for police officers' online misconduct. Then education and wider society, create universal resources, guidance for young people, e.g. what to expect from courts, guidance to help professionals how to see a child as a child.
Thank you so much, Leon. And now we're going to move on to recommendations to be seen in education. So I'm going to hand over to Trinae.
Hi everyone, hope you're all well. My name's Trinae. I'll introduce myself as the CEO of an organisation called Support Through Sport, which aims to better the lives of young people in Nottingham through sporting initiatives, and also tackle negative influences like knife crime, gang violence, ASB and youth offending. So yeah, what we want to see in education, to actively target the school to prison pipeline, is to require every school to have a process for intervention and support. So that being ensuring that early intervention is easily accessible or integrated into the school system across the country. Also to reduce school exclusions with the target of eliminating them completely. So that by ensuring that these interventions are in place, and we proactively and positively engage with young people at risk of exclusion, exclusion rates will be reduced across the country as well. Increase teachers' awareness on how to responsibly support young people outside of education. So we thought that this was really important, ensuring that teachers have access to training and know what organisations are out there that can support young people, and how to make referrals if needs be. Also have an official body that is responsible for children in trouble in education. So ensuring that an organisation is always on hand to support young people who are at risk of exclusion or trouble in the education system, that they'll be supported across the country whenever and wherever necessary. And also to offer more hands-on teaching and practical knowledge, and possibly money-making skills as well within the school curriculum, and we should evaluate today's curriculum with the input of young people to make sure that those skills are being taught across the country.
Thank you so much, Chene. Yeah, amazing. And I think these ones are quite practical, I think quite feasible, and they're very rooted in essentially word for word what young people were saying. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how we can be a part of trying to make this stuff come to fruition. So I'm now going to hand over to Leon, and he's going to tell us what we want to see in jails.
So what we want to see done in jails, improve the quality of education offered while in custody, give more consideration to who you're hiring and involving young people in the process. So that maybe even people that have gone down the same path and maybe have turned it around now. So, or maybe a lot more training for them, harsher consequences for staff that harm children in custody, like referring back to the other one as the young person had said, where he had been taken downstairs and beaten up. So that may rely on going to prison themselves, definitely a loss of jobs and extra consequences. Prioritize restoration over punishment for children in custody. So that would be faculty, staff, restraint and outreach support, such as maybe a lot more focus on family support, other support that they may have had going on the outside that they can't keep going because they're in jail, and improve the quality of support when leaving jail with help from inside prison. So when you're leaving prison, you're not in the same circumstances when you come to prison.
Thank you so much, Leon. That was amazing. Yeah. So again, quite practical solutions, and really tied directly to what young people were saying about the need to make everything guided by restoration rather than punishment, and making that support very tailored to the specific reasons that young people ended up in custody in the first place. So finally, I'm going to hand over to Chene, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what the Young Advocates want for the future of the project. And we did a little brainstorm, so he's going to take us through some of the highlights, and maybe as you're having a look, you might be able to see some things that you'll be able to help us with. So Chene?
Yeah, so these are some of our targets. Within 6 months, we wanted to present to an audience of over 200 people, primarily just to spread awareness around the good work that we were doing, and also to make sure that our voices are heard by decision makers. Another thing that we wanted to do within a year is to make sure that we're connecting with different projects across the world, comparing our findings and finding out how we can improve our research. And within 2 years, we wanted to be established so that people know who we are and what we do, and how we make an impact to young people's lives across the country.
Thank you so much, Chene. Yeah, and I can't wait to see everything that you do. So thank you all for listening. I'm going to hand back to Pippa now for some reactions from our amazing speakers. Just wanted to say a final, massive thank you and well done to the Young Advocates, because what you have accomplished to speak to over 100 people across multiple regions in multiple areas from multiple genders and backgrounds, and get such honest, valuable information, which really and truly has been very, very hard to access for the entirety of the system during this time. It's really, really amazing. So yeah, I'll stop gushing now.
Thanks, Amania. And yeah, I just want to reiterate my thanks and complete and utter admiration for the Young Advocates and all of the work that they've done. I just wanted to first of all pick up on one of the main points that Chene made, which was around having the opportunity to get their voices and get their messages through to decision makers. So with that in mind, could everybody, if you've got any questions or comments for the Young Advocates, this is your opportunity to place them in the chat, while I just hand over to a couple of people to give their thoughts and kind of responses to what the Young Advocates have said. So I'm very pleased to welcome Keith Fraser, who is the chair of the Youth Justice Board for England and Wales. So he has responsibility for the organisation, which has got responsibility for the oversight of the whole of the youth justice system in England and Wales. A great friend of the AYJ, and we're delighted that Keith has been here to listen attentively to what the young advocates have had to say, and I know that he wants to give some of his reactions and thoughts back to that. So very, very big welcome to you, Keith.
Thank you. And Pippa, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation, and also thanks to the young people who have spoken, and also for their insights. Also the frankness is one thing I'd like to say, and I hope it doesn't sound condescending, is that at your age, I could not have done what you've done. So a huge thanks for giving so much of yourself for others. I think the thing that really stands out for me across all of this, and is really still quite, I'm going to use the word shocking, is that all the institutions that you are talking about, the establishments that you're talking about, are there to care for children and should be supporting children and young people. But you're highlighting a whole host of instances in different situations where those institutions that are there primarily to protect and care for children and young people are failing, and failing in a number of ways. Now, I'll move on very quickly to my thoughts in relation to some of the ways that we can potentially help and work together. And I think the first one was what Trinea said right at the end there, and it's about that voice, the voice of your findings, and trying to help in relation to publicising that. And potentially there's two routes I'm thinking of. One is we have something called the Youth Justice Board, or the Youth Justice Convention, sorry, which we have about between 400 to 500, 600 attendees from that across the youth justice system annually. Perhaps we could get you a slot at that, at which to present your findings. I haven't spoken to the team behind the scenes, so I might get told off for saying that. But I think that the work you've done warrants that kind of national attention, and also national awareness, really. So that's one. But also potentially to the board of the Youth Justice Board, and also the executive as well. In relation to some of the key themes I think you brought out, one is around, and a key one for me, is around seeing children and young people as children and young people, and making sure that the services that are applied for children and young people are appropriate and are right, and children and young people are seen as different, and the services are right for them. Number two, it's around the voices of children and young people being heard. And then number three for me is around involvement. There is another, and finally, there's another meeting which I chair, which has another number of government departments, senior leaders from government departments on it, and statutory agencies. I just want to have a conversation behind the scenes to see whether or not that meeting could be themed around the findings that we've had from today, because I think they're pretty significant, and they cut right the way across the justice system, and they're picking up on some of the things that we're finding within the Youth Justice Board. So I think to have this as an actual themed discussion point at the meeting with those leaders from across government, I think would be really insightful for them, and also send a real powerful message around what needs to be done. Thank you, Pippa. I'll take questions if you want, if that's appropriate, or just hand over from there. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Keith. Maybe we're going to hand over to our next speaker in a second, but I just wondered, did any of the young advocates have any kind of responses to what Keith has said in terms of his offer? Are you up for going and speaking to his board, his team, some of the people across government that Keith has mentioned? Thank you very much for that. And potentially the Youth Justice Convention, which I've been to myself, and it's packed full of hundreds of people who can definitely do something about this. So Adam, I can see you grinning. Did you want to say anything?
Yeah, no, I think that would be an amazing opportunity, and that is exactly what we are trying to gain from this, and to be able to even be offered that opportunity. But it's a big smile on my face, and really makes it definitely feel worth it. So thank you very, very, very much. Even thank you for what you've just said, was very insightful to know that these sort of things take place. is all amazing stuff, and I would absolutely love to have that opportunity. So thank you very, very much for taking the time to join us today. I really, really appreciate it.
Cheers, Adam. Trinae, Leon, did either of you want to chip in at this point, or should we move on? Raise your hand if you do. There you go, Trinae.
Yeah, I think it sounds amazing. Thanks for that, Keith. To put us on a big stage, speaking to a lot of people about our findings. Like Adam said, it's what we want to do. It's what we're here. We've done all the work for is to present it at the biggest stage possible. So yeah, sounds amazing. And as Adam said, we're really grateful for the opportunity to present there on that stage.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Keith. Really, really appreciate you being here and for that really generous offer as well. We'll definitely be in touch about that. It looks like it could be really mutually beneficial. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Okay, I'm now going to pass over to a number of people who have been involved in attending the Young Advocate sessions and imparting their expertise and also supporting them individually. And one of those people is Craig Pinkney, who I would like to invite just to give some of his responses to what the Young Advocates have said and potentially on the progress that they've made since you last saw them, which was a good few months ago now. So welcome to you, Craig. If you want to say a bit about who you are and what you do, I'll leave that to you as well.
All short and sweet. My name is Craig Pinkney. I'm a director of a company called Solve, the Centre for Youth Violence and Conflict. I know this sounds a little bit weird and cliche, but I don't think this is really about me. I think what I just observed over the last hour or so was absolutely amazing. You know, Adam, you know, really kind of stepped out. Leon, I was so happy to see you speaking, just kind of listening to the journey and knowing some of the backstory of some of you all. I think it was just kind of amazing to ultimately see. So my words are more around just empowerment and just feeling really inspired. I think oftentimes when we come around these tables and have conversations about whether it's children or young people or as it relates to criminal justice, it's always from the perspective of adults that talk to young people. And it's just nice and refreshing just to see young people speaking for themselves within a forum and so articulate. You guys broke it down, and I just, yo, I'm bigging every single one of you up for doing what you did today. And I'm just sitting here proud and inspired. So as I said, I'm not stealing your shine right now. This is all you guys, and that's all I've got to say from my end. And as I said, just round of applause. Well done, guys. Proud.